Welcome back to Let's Play Neverwinter Nights 2 Mask of the Betrayer. This is Big Los, and we are in the Dreamscape of Faras. Who's Faras? Well, let's go over here and find out who he is. It's this guy over here. I guess we'll take a look at him. This man paces nervously across the room, often muttering to himself and aiming the occasional outburst at the creature across the room from him. From his dress, he appears to be a wizard, and the circle of arcane symbols trapping the nearby creature reinforces that impression. Okay, so there's someone else in the other room. Guess we'll look at him, too. This creature smiles at you knowingly as you glance in his direction. With skin tinged slightly red and two small horns protruding from its head, there's no mistaking this creature for a human. And its name is Enzibur. Okay, well, let's go on in here. There's got to be something I'm overlooking. Something I... Oh, you there! You have to help me! Oh, I have to, do I? Yes, you must! Or my soul is doomed! Okay, you've piqued my interest. What is the problem? This thing... This vile creature claims to have the right to my soul. Let's do lore. You mean that Falxugon over there? Why, yes! So you have some experience with infernal beings, then? You could say that. I once knew a warlock who collected them, actually. Collected them? Why would anyone ever do such a thing? It was a hobby of his. That's quite a hobby to have. He must have been extraordinarily powerful. Unfortunately, as far as I know, he's dead. Too bad. Such expertise would come in handy right about now. The matter at hand concerns the contract I signed with that... What did you call it again? A Falxugon? Wait, you signed a contract with the devil? No, that is, I did sign a small agreement, so yes, I suppose. Yes. What were the terms of this agreement? Not my soul, that's for sure. We simply agreed on a number of favors he would grant me if I did certain things for him. Do you have a copy of this agreement? Yes, but I need to keep looking through it. I'm sure he has another copy on his person, just to taunt me with in case I lose mine. What kind of favors was he supposed to grant you? Oh, a little of this, a smidgen of that. It's all in the contract, I'm sure. What did you have to do for him? As you might imagine, nothing you'd care to mention in the presence of a paladin of Tyr. If you simply must know the gritty details, I'm sure they're all in the contract. Okay, do you have a copy of this agreement? Yes, but I need to keep looking through it, so I'll ask to see his copy then. Okay, now we have to go talk to this guy. Greetings, my friend. I hope our good friend Faras here hasn't concerned you overmuch with talk of our business relationship. He says you have a claim on his soul. Is there any truth to that? Why, yes. But that is only because I do have a claim to his soul. It's all explicitly stated in the contract. Do you have a copy of the contract? Of course. Here, you may peruse it at your leisure. If you have any questions about it, feel free to ask. What if I just ripped it up in front of you? What a rash thing to even suggest. Still, I'll have you know that is just a copy of the original, which I have stored away in a very safe place. Destroying the copy would gain you nothing. Well, it was worth a try. Indeed. Do you have any more amusing things to say? Maybe I will after reading this contract. I'll look forward to it then. Do that. Okay, so we got this contract from him, the Infernal Contract. Let's look at it. Upon being fully unrolled, this scroll reaches a length of approximately 30 feet. It features a tiny, precise script written in a reddish ink, presumably blood on a material that you'd rather not consider too carefully. While a little of the writing is in a language you cannot decipher, the majority of it is written in common. So you have to use this thing on yourself. So we're going to use it, and then it unrolls. After unfurling the scroll, you realize that it would take far too long to read it in its entirety. Perhaps it would be better to find a relevant section. Well, let's start at the beginning. A maddeningly long piece of text starts the document by declaring the omnipotence of someone named Asmodeus and declaring the inevitable victory of the devils over their long-hated foes, the demons. Skip ahead. Further on, you find a passage that pertains to the matter at hand. I, Faras Windelhelm, do enter into a binding agreement with the devil Enzibur for an unspecified length of time. The terms of the agreement exist in accord with the tenets laid out in the Pact Primeval, which states that... The text continues on for many pages, citing a document of some considerable importance to devils. Alright, so let's find the part about what favors Faras bargained for. The section regarding what favors were granted is located a few pages into the document. A short passage prefaces the section, followed by a bit of text much smaller than the rest, after which the favors themselves are explained. So let's read the preface. The signee agrees that the following favors are to be had upon completion of the services mentioned. The type, number, and degree of the services to be rendered are not negotiable after the signing of this document. Okay, let's read the smaller text. Each favor shall be granted but once and have a duration of 1 year, renewable each time the signee fulfills the obligations of a new favor. Should a favor's duration run out without being renewed, it can be granted again for another year, starting from the date the signee fulfills the obligations for another item on the list. Okay, let's read the part where the favors are explained. There are 5 favors listed total, and each specifies the condition required for it to be granted. They seem to have an order of sorts, with the later favors requiring more from the signee. Let's read the details of the first favor. For the favor of one powerful magical item unspecified, the signee must inflict pain on a helpless being. Okay, let's read the details of the second favor. For the favor of increased skill in one area of endeavor, the signee must perform a mischievous act upon a hated foe. Let's read the details of the third favor. For the favor of a wish of limited proportions, the signee must cast a spell of evil nature. Let's read the details of the fourth favor. For the favor of increased mental ability, the signee must cause grievous harm to another being. And read the details of the fifth and final favor. Finally, for the favor of supreme magical power, the signee must cause, directly or indirectly, the death of another. Okay, let's go to a different part of the contract. Which part do we want? Let's skip to the end. The final part of the scroll is more mind-numbing legal jargon before ending with a signature that clearly reads Faras Windelhelm. Below that is a long string of neatly written symbols. Slightly above the signature, you notice a section of incredibly small text. Let's examine these symbols. The symbols are arranged in a neat row and appear to be comprised of sharply written lines in odd geometric patterns. After a few moments, you realize that what you're looking at can only be Enzibur's signature. Let's examine the tiny text. The text is written so small that you can barely make it out. If you hadn't been carefully examining the document, it's likely you would have missed it altogether. It reads, furthermore, the signee agrees that should all services be rendered unto the provider, and all favors for such services granted in response, that the signee's immortal soul becomes the sole property of the provider for all of eternity. Okay, let's skip to a different part. No, let's stop examining the contract. I think we've seen enough. Okay, greetings, my friend. I hope our good friend Faras. Okay, save your honeyed words, monster. I know your kind's tricks. Tricks? You wound me. I am merely a merchant of sorts, conducting business. Despite anything this man may have told you, all of it was contingent on his agreement. which he gave willingly. You're no merchant. You're a fiend whose sole order of business is the corruption of good people like this man here. My, aren't we a bit melodramatic today? And good people? You mean Faras here? Why, dear mortal, if you knew the things I know about him, you would never allow that appellation anywhere near him. Did he do these nasty things before or after he made a deal with you? Good question. To be honest, I don't know much of what he did before he met me, but he carried out the conditions of our contract splendidly. Do you have a copy of this contract? I do, but then so do you now. Right, I had forgotten. Do you frequently have memory lapses such as this? I can help fix that, you know. If you'll just sign here, you'll never have to worry about... Oh, no. No contracts for me, thank you very much. As you say, if you happen to change your mind, you know where to find me, at least for the time being. I'll go look at the contract now, but actually, let's go talk to this guy. Well, he's wrong, right? It doesn't say anything about giving it my soul. I made sure that none of the things I had to do for him involved my soul in any way. Actually, I'm afraid it does say something about your soul. It does? Where? Right here at the bottom. It says that if you complete all the terms of the contract, your soul becomes his property. Oh, gods! I didn't even see that. I just checked the conditions and signed the stupid paper. You mean you didn't even read the whole thing? Of course not. Did you see how long that thing is? Did you read the whole thing just now? Bluff. Of course. Success. You did? In that case, I apologize. I didn't realize anyone could read that fast. I'm just gifted that way, I guess. Now that we've cleared that up, why don't you tell me how this all started? It all began several years ago. I was one of 2 apprentices under the tutelage of Master Wizard Galban of Teflam. At first my studies went well, but then the other apprentice, Ithias, began to pull ahead of me. Are you sure you simply didn't start falling behind? Well, maybe a little. Ithias was always... Hey, why am I telling you any of this? My soul is on the line here. I can't waste any time. Fine, continue the story. The master began to get upset that he had to teach us at different rates, and he started assigning me menial tasks so that he could spend more time with Ithias. It became so unbearable that I went to look for a new teacher. What happened then? One prospective teacher who lived nearby was a summoner, but I arrived early to our meeting, and he hadn't returned home yet. Instead, I found that thing in a circle in the center of the room waiting for me. Did the summoner ever arrive? I don't know. While I was waiting, I began talking to Enzibur over there, who was sympathetic to my plight and promised to help me with my problems. I'm sure he did. Is that when you signed the contract? No, I returned home, but Enzibur began to visit me whenever Galban and Ithias went out, and we eventually came to an arrangement. What kind of arrangement? Nothing too drastic. The first contract he offered me was what you would expect from a devil, with my soul as the price and everything. The first contract? He later came to me with another contract, promising that it was much different than the last one. This one only required small favors on my part, and nothing was absolutely required of me. And that's this one here. Yes, soon after signing it, I fulfilled a couple of the conditions and immediately began reaping the rewards. Let me guess, then it all went terribly wrong. Not quite. Some time later, the favors I had earned vanished. My studies plummeted once more. Only it was worse this time because both Ithias and Master Galban suspected I had been cheating somehow. Intelligence. There was a stipulation in the contract that stated favors would only last a year, you know. There was? Hells, I must have missed that part too. If only I had never signed that stupid thing. No arguments there. So the benefits disappeared. What did you do about it? I summoned Enzibur. Unfortunately, Athaios burst into my room and caught me talking to him. He immediately began threatening to tell the master. What did you do? Without thinking, I cast a spell at him. He wasn't quite so quick to run to the master after being doused with acid. Fortunately, I had an area silence spell memorized as well. You wouldn't believe how much he screamed. Ouch! What happened then? I fled. I grabbed a few of my things and just started running. I don't know where I was going, but I knew I had to get away before the master discovered what I had done. It didn't take long for him to find me, though. And you killed him, right? I didn't kill anyone. What makes you think I would do something like that? Well, let's see. You consort with devils, burn people with acid, not to mention... Enough! So I'm not a paladin. But I didn't kill my master. You must believe me. Alright. What happened next? Assuming you didn't kill him. He said I was dangerous, and he began chanting a spell. I didn't know what to do. I closed my eyes and was cowering when I heard the crackling of energy, and then a harumph of surprise. A harumph? Yes, a harumph. It's that sound that old men often make to express displeasure or surprise. I knew that. What happened then? I opened my eyes and he was gone. I searched the area where he had been standing and only found some dust. I was scared out of my mind. What do you think happened to Galban? I honestly don't know. He might have just teleported away, or he might have been killed by a spell. Either would explain the dust I found. Why would he teleport away? He wouldn't, or at least I can't think of a good reason why he would. Which means he's likely dead. So I fled. Again, I didn't stop until it had gotten dark out. I was staying at an inn about a day's ride from Teflon when I found a letter in my pack. It said the terms of our contract were complete, and that my soul would become Enzibur's property upon my death. So now you're trying to get out of it? Hells yes! I'm trying to get out of it. Wouldn't you? I suppose so. Do you have any clues on how to get out of the contract? Very little, I'm afraid. I've been researching Infernal Contracts for weeks now, with little progress due to the subject matter. People look at you differently when you tell them you want to find out about making pacts with devils, you know? Have you discovered anything useful at all? Only a little bit about Baatezu lore from anyone of real authority. I have found some interesting things in stories written about Infernal Contracts, however. Tell me what you learned from the stories. Actually, there were two general themes to the stories I found. In the first type, adventurous mortals managed to escape from their contracts by using their wits. And the second type? The second type involved adventurous mortals trying to escape from their contracts using their wits, only they were outsmarted by the devils and had their souls taken. Okay, let's stick with the first type. What did you learn? In the stories, the mortals always escaped their contracts by either finding some type of error in the contract or proving the devil broke the rules somehow. The rules? The stories were always a little hazy on the details of the rules the devils followed. I think most of the ones I used in the stories were made up, as the authors didn't really know anything about the topic themselves. Fortunately, we have an expert in Baatezu rules standing just over there. Good luck convincing him to help you. It might be worth a shot. Let me go talk to him. And if you talk to him again, don't waste time talking to me. Find out what you can from Enzibur. Okay, so I guess we gotta talk to him. Hello again, my friend. Always a pleasure. What would you like to discuss now? I'd like to ask some questions about the contract. By all means. A fine piece of work, that document. One of my finest, in fact. What in particular did you wish to ask about it? I'd like to know about the favors and conditions. Getting right to the meat of the document, I see. That section is actually pretty standard as far as such things go. I promise to do certain favors for a mortal in exchange for particular services they can do for me. What kind of favors? Oh, many things. Some people want to be stronger, richer, have certain problems, shall we say, taken care of. We are happy to oblige as long as they fulfill the conditions we set. What sort of conditions? The conditions we require mortals to fulfill are generally small matters that are only of interest to my kind. Why are they only of interest to your kind? Well, we Baatezu have a certain vested interest, as it were, in the things people do. If we can make them do certain things, it benefits us. Wisdom. You go stronger by making mortals misbehave, you mean? That's a rather simplistic view of things, but no less correct for being so. I have another question. Feel free to ask about anything you like. I have another question about the contract. By all means, a fine piece of paper. Yeah. I'd like to know about infernal contracts in general. My favorite subject. What about contracts would you like to know? What type of contracts are there? There are two main varieties, but nearly limitless variations on those two. The first type of contract is known as the Pact Certain. It is a simple and binding agreement where an immortal offers up his soul and a Baatezu specifies what will be given for it. What's the other type of contract? The other type of contract is known as the Pact Insidious. It is composed of a list of lesser favors a mortal can receive if specific acts are performed. So that would be the type of contract that Faras signed. Exactly. I had offered him a Pact Certain initially, but he shied away when the topic of his soul was brought up. Quite a shame, really. It would have kept things much simpler. I see. Can I ask another question about contracts? Surely. What would you like to know? How does one get out of a contract? You don't. Contracts are binding agreements, and as such are enforced harshly. Define harshly. One possible punishment involves sending a pack of infernal hounds to tear the Oathbreaker to shreds. His remains scattered to the winds. From there, the measures only get worse. So there's no way to get out of one. No. Not if the contract is well written. So if there was a flaw in the contract somewhere, a mortal could get out of it. I suppose so. I can't imagine a Baatezu who could be so careless, though. And that's it? There's no other way out? Well, I suppose if the Baatezu in question were to inadvertently break the stipulations of the contract, it would become null and void. The same would happen if the Baatezu broke any of our laws in carrying out the contract. Baatezu law, eh? Interesting. Mind if I ask you another question? Of course. What would you like to know? I was wondering if you could tell me about Baatezu law. Aren't you the inquisitive one? Sad to say, Baatezu law is far too complex for a mortal to possibly understand in a single lifetime of study. Could you at least give me a brief explanation of how it works, at least as it relates to mortals? You may as well ask for the ocean to be served to you in a thimble, but I will try. Baatezu law is based on the concept of volition. Mortals are our property by divine decree, so long as they willingly give themselves to us. But there are rules. Always there are rules. Under no circumstances is a Baatezu allowed to coerce a mortal into signing a contract. The same applies to the fulfillment of a contract, in whole and in part. Intelligence. So if a Baatezu were to force a mortal to complete a condition in the contract, that would make it null and void. Why, yes, I suppose it would. Interesting. Yes, it is. Did you have any more questions? Let's see, I'd like to ask some questions about the contract. By all means, yeah. Let's see, I'd like to ask about the favors and conditions. Ah, okay, yeah, we already... How is, let's see here, inflicting pain on a helpless being doing you a service? It corrupts the one performing the service, of course. That's what we do, after all. Corrupt mortals. You were aware of that, were you not? Actually, I wasn't. What's the purpose of corrupting mortals? What a fascinating line of inquiry. It is so rare for mortals to wonder what we get out of our bargains. It is always me, me, me with them. Very well, I'd be delighted to explain it to you. Baatezu, or devils as you mortals refer to us, have a unique economy that is based on souls. The more souls a devil possesses, the richer and more powerful he is. The main problem is in collecting them. Yes, we can't just grab a mortal's soul when they die, though certain unsavory elements have been known to do just that. There are rules that govern these things, you see, and if nothing else, a Baatezu always follows the rules. What kind of rules? Well, when a mortal dies, his soul goes to his god. If a mortal doesn't worship any particular god, his soul becomes the property of the god of the dead. Lore. You mean Kelemvor? Yes, that's the current one, I believe. The current one? Well, they do change so often. Why, there have been at least 4 different death gods since I was spawned as a lemur. Lore. Those would be Jurgle, Merkel, Cyric, and Kelemvor, right? Why, yes they would. How studious of you to know all 4. Most mortals nowadays don't even remember Jurgle. Tell me about Jurgle. Jurgle was quite the perfectionist during his reign, and he kept detailed records of everything. If such a thing were possible, I'd say he was better at negotiating contracts than a Baatezu. What happened to Jurgle? Strangely enough, he gave away his position to Merkel. Why in the world would he do that? Believe it or not, the popular story is that he was bored with the position. He still toils on, though, just not as a god of the dead. Where's he now? He dwells in the City of Judgment with Kelemvor and serves as his scribe. I imagine it's a much less demanding job than his former one. Interesting. Can I ask you about one of the other gods? Of course. Which would you like to know about? Tell me about Merkel. Ah, Merkel was truly a wondrous god of the dead. His priests spread the fear of death with efficiency and panache. How did he lose his godhood? He was killed during the time of troubles while fighting Mistra over the mortal city of Waterdeep. Can you really kill a god? Well, such a thing is possible, but it is not usually as final as it is for mortals. Gods who die still linger on for quite some time in other planes of existence, and can be reawakened if enough mortals pay worship to them. Interesting. Can I ask you about one of the other gods? Of course. Which would you like to know about? Tell me about Cyric. There's not much to tell, really. Cyric wasn't Lord of the Dead for long enough to really influence our dealings much. What happened to him? There was some sort of uprising, I believe. When the dust settled, Kelemvor was the new Lord of the Dead. Interesting. Can I ask you about one of the other gods? Of course. Which one would you like to know about? Tell me about Kelemvor. Kelemvor was a bit of a problem at first, for he didn't wish to deal with us at all, preferring to punish the wicked and reward the innocent. Those were tough times indeed. But then something changed. Yes, one day everything changed, and Kelemvor began acting like a proper death god. He sent messengers to the Baatezu, asking to renew former ties with us, and the rest, as they say, is history. What caused the change? No one knows for sure. Some say his love for Mistra died, and his last shreds of humanity died with it. Others propose that he was disciplined by Ao for not doing his job properly. What do you think happened? I'm not really one for speculation. I'm just glad the proper business has resumed. Can I ask you about one of the other gods? Of course. You know what? Actually, I have to go. Alright, that's all we want to know for now, so let's talk to him. So have you figured out how to save me yet? I have a few leads, but I need to ask you some questions. Of course. I'll tell you anything you wish to know. Let's talk about the favors. The contract says you had to fulfill all of their conditions in order to lose your soul. But that's just it. I never fulfilled all the conditions. I performed a few of them, sure, but not all. Let's see. Does anything stick out in your mind regarding the favors? Anything strange? Nothing. I've gone over it again and again in my mind, and I can't think of anything. Let's see, that's alright. How about we just go over the favors one by one, just to be sure? Yes, of course, we must be thorough. Go ahead and ask me about them. It says you needed to inflict pain on a helpless creature as a condition of the first favor. Did you do that? Sadly, yes. I cast a minor cantrip at Athias' rabbit familiar. How it ran! Did you receive a powerful magic item like it says in the contract? If you can call it that, the next morning I discovered a tome of infernal spells at the foot of my bed. I can't even read infernal. When did you fulfill this condition? It was the first condition I fulfilled, since I thought it sounded the most harmless. I want to ask about a different favor. Sure, which one do you want to speak about? The second favor required that you perform a mischievous act. Did you do that? Ah, yes. I made one of Athias' potions explode in his face when he presented it to Galban. He had been bragging about that potion for a week. Served him right. Did you receive increased skill in one area of endeavor? Actually, yes. The following week, I started noticing a change in my potion making. It began to come to me naturally. Pretty soon, I had surpassed Athias. Master Gaban even complimented me one day on what a fine potion I had made. Wow, and it only cost you your soul. Yes, it only cost me like... Ah, that's right! What am I gonna do? Calm yourself. I have other questions. You're right, I'm sorry. Ask your questions. When did you fulfill this condition? Shortly after the first, maybe a day or two later. Okay, I want to ask about a different favor. Sure, which one did you want to ask about? The third favor required that you cast an evil spell. Did you ever do that? No. No! I didn't! That's it! That's my way out! Did you hear that, Enzibur? I never cast an evil spell, so your contract is nothing but scrap paper. Ha! Master Faras, you do recall that you summoned me to answer your questions the day Master Athias discovered us talking, don't you? Yes, because your other favors all vanished, you cheat! And you do realize that summoning a denizen of the Nine Hells would be considered evil in most circles, correct? Well, when you put it like that, Oh, gods, I did cast an evil spell! I'm doomed! Doomed, I tell you! Get a hold of yourself, man! What? Are you mad? I mean, you are correct. I must not panic. Please, let us continue the questions. Did you ever receive this wish of limited power mentioned in the contract? A wish? No, I didn't. Wait, that must mean I have a wish left. Wish for a pile of money so that we can buy our way out of this. No, that would waste the wish. I have to use it to get out of this situation. Fine, have it your way. I still say a pile of money would be more useful. I wish that I had never signed that contract. Did it work? Doesn't look like it. Hells! I must have already used the wish at some point. Any idea when? Not really. I guess it's not important now. It was worth a try. Ready to get back to the questioning? Sure. When did you fulfill this condition? I finished this one third, about a year after the first two. Let's see. Let's talk about one of the other favors. Which one did you wish to speak about? The fourth favor required that you grievously wound someone. Sound familiar? Yes, I suppose Athias and the whole acid bath incident would account for that one. Right. Did you become more intelligent, as it says? Yes, I noticed immediately that things became easier to put together and understand. Not that it helped, seeing as how I spent that moment onward running for my life. When did you fulfill this condition? I suppose I completed this one fifth, however long it was between summoning Enzibur and Athias finding us. Let's see, wouldn't that be fourth? Let's talk about one of the other favors. Which one did you have in mind? The fifth favor required you to cause the death of another. You didn't do that, did you? No! I never killed anyone. I swear it. Did you become more powerful? It might be difficult to believe, but I wasn't always the fearsome wizard you see before you, you know. A few 10 days ago, I was still an eager but inexperienced apprentice. Which means you received the reward. The question is, who did you kill? No one, honest! I've never even seen a dead body, thanks be to Kelemvor. What about Athias? You did say you hurt him pretty bad. Maybe he died of the wounds. Impossible. I checked him myself before fleeing, and while the acid will probably leave a lasting mark or 10, the wounds were not mortal. What about Galban? Well, I certainly didn't kill him, although what happened was rather odd. One moment, he was advancing on me while casting a spell, and the next, he was gone. Did you cast a spell at him? No, I was too scared. It wouldn't have done any good anyway. He would have swept any spell I knew away with a wave of his hand. All I did was cringe and wish he'd go away. Insight. Wait, you made a wish? In a matter of speaking, I didn't say out loud I wish my master would go away, but I did think it over and over at the time. It says in the contract that the third favor was a wish of limited power. Since Goblin attacked you after you summoned Enzibur, you would have had a wish. You're right. Oh gods, I did it! I'm responsible for my master's death. Galban had friends, powerful friends. Oh gods! Did you actually wish for his death? No. If you want to be technical about it, then no. Interesting. That may be the key to this whole puzzle. Really? I believe so. Actually, let's go to 3. Yes. Now I need to think for a bit. Okay, and now we can talk to Enzibur and get this whole thing finished. Hello again, my friend. Always a pleasure. What would you like to discuss now? Your contract with Faras is null and void. Oh, it is it? How exactly did you come to that conclusion? You broke Baatezu law. Oh, you think so, do you? Then regale me with the tale of how I managed to break laws I know by heart, and whose existence you learned about mere minutes ago. It's easy. You forced Faras into completing his part of the contract. Exactly how do you presume I accomplished that? You forced him to kill someone indirectly to fulfill the fifth favor. Who do you maintain that Faras killed again? Why, his Master Goblin, of course. I'm sure Faras has told you all about it. It's funny, but when he told me the story, he said he didn't kill his master. Of course he did. He wished that his master would go away, not that he would die. You were the one who decided to interpret that as a wish for his death. Let's suppose for a moment that you are correct. What does it matter? The wish was made, and here we are. Because by interpreting his wish in that manner, you forced him to fulfill the condition of the last favor. Don't be silly. Nobody forced him... Wait. I'm right, aren't I? I said wait! Let me think for a moment. Think all you want. You broke the law. The contract is null and void. Damn you, mortal! I will not forget this. Good. Make sure you remember the smile on my face right now, too. Alright, and let's go talk to Faras. What just happened? Is it done? Am I free? Indeed. Enzibur's contract with you is no more. Excellent. How did you do it? Really, I must know. He broke the law of his kind by making you complete one of the conditions of the contract. Really? Thank the gods you came along. I never would have I mean, you saved me a great deal of time. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Well, that being said, I really must be off. Thanks again. Farewell. And we get 2,500 XP for that. And we lose the Infernal Contract. We're not going to need that anyway. Let's see. Is there anything in here that we're missing? No? Okay, let's go back into the Dreamscape portal. Will return us to the Chamber of Dreamers, so let's enter the portal. And here we are. Oh, looks like Gann leveled up. Great, but we'll do it in the next episode. This is Big Los signing off. Thanks for watching. See you next time. And Tenga un buen día.